everybody, this week we're going to talk about a story from Genesis, which is the first book in the Bible. We're going to listen to the story about Abraham and his son Isaac. So go ahead and listen to the story. We read in the Bible that Abraham loved God with all his heart. When God asked Abraham to give him the one thing he loved the most, Abraham obeyed and trusted God. Abraham loved God. Abraham and his wife Sarah had waited a long time to have a son of their own. Abraham loved his son Isaac more than anything else in the world and thanked God for him. One day God tested Abraham. "Take Isaac, your son, and give him to me as a present," God said. "Take him to a mountain, and I will show you." Abraham trusted God would not allow Isaac to be harmed, as he had promised to make him the father of a great nation. Early the next morning, Abraham put some wood for a fire on his donkey and went to the mountain with Isaac. It would be hard to give Isaac to God. Isaac helped get the wood for the fire. "Where is the lamb to give to God?" he asked. Abraham said, "God will give us a lamb." Abraham put the wood on the altar of stones. He put Isaac, his special boy, on top. God knew that Abraham loved him and was giving him the one thing that he loved the most. God said, "Stop, Abraham. God has seen that you love him, even more than that you love your only boy. You listened to God, even when it was hard." Abraham believed God would not allow Isaac to be harmed, and God kept his promise. God told Abraham that he had provided a lamb for him to give instead of Isaac. Abraham looked around and saw a ram caught by its horns in a bush. Abraham and Isaac never forgot to make loving God the most important thing to do. When you obey and trust God, He will never let you down. So this story is about listening to and trusting in God. And sometimes God's going to lead us down paths that we would have never expected. We would have never expected our lives to go in this direction. But that's God's plan for us, and that's where we're meant to go. So Abraham trusted God, and he was going to give him his son Isaac. Abraham didn't want to do this because he loved Isaac so much. He didn't want to give him up. But that's what God was asking him to do. So he goes out and gets ready to give Isaac to God. But God stops him and says, "No, this is not what I want you to do. I wanted you to show me how much you trusted me." And that's what the story is about. It's Abraham willing to do whatever God wanted to do, no matter how it was going to affect him in his life. God's probably never going to ask us to do anything as extreme as this story, but God's going to, in our lives, leads us in directions and things that we may not want. We may not want to go down the path that God wants for us, but we need to trust God and trust that He is taking us down the right path. And we also know that God's not going to give us things that we can't handle, even though things may seem tough sometimes. God knows what He's doing, and He is putting us in things that we can handle, even when it's overwhelming. So the other part of the story is that God provides for us. At the end of the story, God provided that ram stuck in the bush for them to sacrifice. And God provides us with what we need. God doesn't always give us what we want, but He truly gives us what we need and what our souls need in this life. So we're going to go ahead and make our craft. We're going to make a ram. This craft, we're going to a piece of paper, a black marker, a green crayon, a couple of googly eyes, a glue stick, a yellow or brown pipe cleaner, and a pair of scissors, and some fluff or some cotton balls. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm in the middle of my paper. I'm going to draw a big cloud-like thing. That's going to be my sheep or my ram's body. And then I'm going to give him a head. It's just going to be a circle. And I'm going to go ahead and color that in. And then I'm going to give him some legs. So hopefully this kind of looks like a sheep. If you want to add in some ears, you can. Whatever you think your sheep needs. I'll give even mine a little tail. So there's my sheep. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue all on the inside of the big cloud that I drew. And then I'm going to take my fluff and I'm going to start gluing it on. If you have cotton balls, that will also work great. So that might be even a little easier to glue down than the fluff that I have from my sewing stuff. And then there is my sheep's wool. And then I'm going to glue on my eyes. I'm going to put glue on the back of them. Make sure you put enough glue. I think my eyes are 2 different sizes, but that's okay. You can have 2 slightly different sized eyes. And there is a sheep. So what's the difference between a sheep and a ram? That's right, rams have horns, don't they? And the ram horns are usually big and curly, aren't they? You saw in the story how his big curly horns were stuck in the bush. So I'm going to take my pipe cleaner, I'm going to cut it in half. And then I'm going to take it and wrap it around my finger. And then I can spread it out like this. And that's going to be one of my ram's horns. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other half of my pipe cleaner. And then I'll spread it out. So there are my horns. These are going to be a little hard to glue down, so you're going to need to make sure you put a lot of glue on them. And then you can glue them down, and they'll be your ram's horns. You might want to make sure they're facing opposite directions. But there are my ram's horns. And I'm going to go ahead and put green grass on the bottom of my paper. That's why I wanted the green crayon. So the ram is at home. So I'm just going to color that in green. And then you could even draw a bush if you wanted to, but I'm not going to because I'm not all that artistic. So I'm going to take my marker again, and I'm going to write, God will provide. And that is Genesis 22:8. So I hope you had fun making your craft this week. I hope you have a good week, and I'll see you in Sunday school. Bye!